How you doing there? Welcome back to Babylon Talmud. Today we're studying Daf Tzadi Aleph, Daf 91 of Masechta Nedarim, friends. Friends, what can I tell you? Today we're wrapping up Masechta Nedarim, the last daf of Masechta Nedarim, if I'm not mistaken. Let's do it. Alright, we're going to start on Daf Tzadi Amud Beis at the Mishnah Barishona initially. Hayu Omrim, they would say, Shalosh Noshim Yotzos V'Notlos Ksube. There are three women that they would leave the marriage and they would be able to collect their marriage document, the payment of their marriage document. Example number one, if a wife says to her husband that unfortunately she was raped, and he's a kohen, so now a kohen, if he can't be married to an anusa, right? Unfortunately, if his wife gets raped, then they cannot remain together. So if she says Tmea ani l'cha, so then they cannot remain married, and she can collect her ksuba. Excuse me, I think my glasses might be dirty. 1 second. Okay, now example number two. I did that. Shamayim beini levenecho. Okay, if she says that the heavens are between us. And apparently the heavens are between us means that your sperm does not shoot out properly. Alright. Or if she says that she can't bear having relations with any Jew. And the Ran says because it's painful for her. So in any of these three cases, so that she leaves the marriage and she collects her ksubah. But then later on, they took that back and they said that out of concern that the wife may have ulterior motives, that maybe she met another fellow and she's just looking for a way out of her current marriage, and therefore out of that concern, so then we said that she doesn't simply just leave and collect her ksubah. If she's in fact, in the case where the husband is a kohen and she was raped and they can't remain together, she would have to bring proof that it actually happened in order for her to be able to collect her ksubah. If she says that his sperm doesn't shoot out properly, so then yaisu derech bakoshe. What was that again? Oh, alright. Oh, wait, what? Yeah. Okay, I don't know. Make some kind of, like a suda, some kind of feast, and I don't know what, convince her to stay or something. And if she says that she's not interested in having beer with any of the Jews, Yofer L'chalko, then he should be mefer his portion in that, and they can remain together and they can continue to have beer. But she wouldn't be able to have beer with any other people. Okay. Says the Gemara, okay. So if she says that she's Tamea, so we said that, in the end of the Mishnah, we said that that if she says that, she was an anusa, so then we don't automatically believe her. But what about with regards to eating truma, right? If she says that she's an anusa and she can't remain together with her husband, so then, who's a kohen, can she continue eating truma? So if Shesha says yes, she continues eating truma, because if she stops eating truma, then the yentis in the bungalow colony on Shabbos afternoon are going to start assuming that the reason why she's not eating truma is because she had she was raped, and then they're going to start saying all sorts of terrible things about the kids. Rava Omar says Rava Eino Ochelis, that, so Rava says no, she does. Wait, what? Right, exactly. So Rav Shesha says that she does eat truma, because if she doesn't, then the yentis are going to go to town. Rava Omar Eino Ochelis, whereas Rava says no. If she says that she's an anusa, then she does not continue to eat truma, because efshir da'ach l'chulin, because even if she's married to a kohen and nothing happened, still it's not like kohanim eat a steady diet of truma. Kohanim also eat chulin. If there's tumor, they eat truma, but kohanim also eat chulin. So therefore, Rava says the yentis aren't going to notice, right? I mean, yentis aren't going to notice. Yentis notice. But anyways, Rava says, look, at the end of the day, kohanim also eat chulin. So just say to her, no, you can't eat truma. And the fact that she's eating chulin, I mean, Kohanim also eat chulin. If there's truma, they eat truma. But the fact that she's eating chulin doesn't necessarily mean that that she's an anusa. It might just mean that there's only chulin around. Rava, now says Rava, umoder Rav Sheshes, that Rav Sheshes who says that she does eat the truma, Rav Sheshes would admit, however, shemnis armela, that if she got widowed, she'ena ocheles. So now normally a widow, if she has children, right, if a Bas Yisrael is married to a Kohen, then she can eat truma. If they have children and the Kohen dies, she can continue eating truma. But says Rava that Rav Sheshes would admit that in this case where she says that she's an anusa and then the husband dies, she would no longer eat truma, even if she has children. Midi utaima elam mishum totzila zaboneo, because the only reason why Rav Sheshes says that she would continue eating truma was just so that the yentis in the bungalow colony on Shabbos afternoon, when they're eating their low-fat mandel bread and Diet Coke, and they're trying to find something to keep them busy for the afternoon, so they won't. Right. So the whole point was that those people shouldn't be talking about her kids. But now that she's a widow, Nisamla Niskarsha Amre Hashta Disnisa will say, look, this incident only happened after her husband had already died, and there won't be any nafkaminas for the kids. Weiter. Amr of Papa says, Papa Boduklon of Rave. So Papa says that Rave, Papa was a student of Rave, so Papa says that Rave, he would test us. He would test us to make sure that we were sharp, that we were on our toes. Eishes Kohen Shenensa. So the wife of a Kohen who was Nensa, she was raped, unfortunately. Yesh la ksube or ein la ksube. So can she receive her ksube, or does she not receive her ksube, right? So if you have Eishes Kohen Shenensa, so then they cannot remain together. So they have to get divorced. So can she collect her ksube or not? Kevin the ones legabi Kohen, kirotzon legabi Yisrael, domi. Do we say, well, ones by a Kohen is basically the equivalent of rotzin by a Yisrael? What does that mean? First of all, it's onis. Onis is against her will. Rotzin is voluntary. She had just a relationship with somebody else voluntarily. So, well, if you have a Bas Yisrael married to a Yisrael, right? So just Yisraels, and she has a relationship with somebody else willingly, of course they cannot remain together anymore. And if she's married to a Kohen, so then even if it was against her will, they cannot remain together. So we see that basically, in the context of Yisrael, where this relationship happened willingly, and in the context of a Kohen, where it happened unwillingly, they're basically the same result in that they cannot, right, the couple cannot remain together. So ein la ksuba. So should we say that, well, just like by Yisrael where it was beratzin, whereas by a Yisrael, if it was anusa, if it was against her will, so then they can remain together. If it was against her will, then they can remain together by Yisrael. But if it was willingly, then they cannot remain together. And we're saying that if it was willing by a Yisrael, she of course would not collect her ksuba, right? She willingly had a relationship with another fellow when she was married. So then they get divorced, and she can't collect her ksuba. So do we say that anusa by a kohen is basically is similar to a rotzin by a Yisrael, in that in both cases they can't remain together, and therefore ein lo ksuba. And if we're just like birotzin by Yisrael, of course she doesn't get her ksuba. So let's say that by anusa, by a kohen also, she does not get her ksuba. Odilma, or perhaps matzi amrle, she could say to her husband who's a kohen, what do you mean you're not going to give me your ksuba? Look, I just got raped against my will, right? I'm here, I'm willing to stay with you, but anu hachazina, I could remain here. V'gavu dinistach v'sadeu. It's you're a Kohen. It's the fact that you're a Kohen that's preventing us from remaining together. I'm here. I'm willing to stay. It's because of you that I can't stay. So of course I deserve to receive my ksuba v'aminon lei. And Rav Papa says that we replied to Rava. So Rava said, so by anusa bas kohen, right, by an anusa who's married to a kohen, does she get her ksuba or not? So says Rav Papa, well, it's our Mishnah. Masnisani, it's our Mishnah. Ha'omeres tmea oni licha. If she says that she was raped, yesh la ksuba, she receives her ksuba. B'mayaskinon, and what's the context in which we're talking about that? If she says tmea oni, she receives her ksuba. Ilema be'eshes Yisrael. If you're going to say that it's talking about Eishes Yisrael, so I don't understand. If it was voluntary, klum yesh l'ksuba, obviously she doesn't have a ksuba. V'be'ones, and if it was involuntary, if it was against her will, so then mika mitzvah al gava, then she's not forbidden to her husband if he's a Yisrael. So then what are we talking about collecting the ksuba? They can remain married. So v'ela kohen. So rather it must be talking about a woman who's married to a priest, to a kohen. Now ibirotzen, if it was voluntary, so klum yesh l'ksuba, obviously she wouldn't get a ksuba. Migar me'eshes Yisrael. Why should it be any different than an eshes Yisrael? Right, in Eshes Yisrael, if it was Birotz and she doesn't receive the ksuba, so, no reason to be more lenient by a kohen. Obviously, if it was Birotz and she would not receive a ksuba. So, Elalad be'ones v'katani yesh l'ksuba. Rather, it must be talking about whereas be'ones, against her will, by a woman who's married to a kohen, and we're saying that she receives her ksuba, right? Right, we said it. Omeres Tmei Ani, she receives her ksuba. Okay. Ibaya lehu, they asked a kasha. What's the kasha that they asked? Omer levaila gerashtuni mahu bam param param. If a woman says to her husband, guy, dude, man, fellow person, okay, husband, guy, dude, man, fellow person, you divorced me, dude. Mao, do we believe her? Right? She comes, she says, fellow guy, dude, man, you divorced me. I'm divorced. Do we believe her? Alright. Amar Rav Hamnuna tashma. So Rav Hamnuna says, we'll come in here. That if she says that she was raped, that afilu the Mishnah achrona, that even according to the Mishnah had mentioned that initially she would be believed and initially she would receive her ksuba, but then they were concerned that actually maybe she was involved in a relationship with some other fellow and she doesn't receive her ksuba. So even according to the Mishnah Achrona, where we say that she doesn't receive her ksuba by Tmei Ani L'cha, the Katani Lo Mehemna, Hasamu de Mishakra, de Yada de Baila Lo Yadaba. So in that case, when we're talking about, rape, or, meaning, or at least the alleged claim of Anusa, right, and we're saying, well, you're going to have to bring proof because maybe she's making it up because she wants to be able to be married to somebody else. So, in that case, according to the Mishnah Achrona, we don't believe her because how would the husband know, right? Meaning, right, if we're talking about onus, how would the husband know if it happened or not? And therefore, we have to be concerned that maybe she's lying. But if she's making the claim that, she's looking him in the eye and she's saying, you divorced me, where obviously he knows whether or not that's true, so then we can believe her. She wouldn't be so brazen in front of her husband to say, you divorced me, when they both know that it's untrue. But in the case of Anusa, potentially she can get away with it. How is he supposed to know if it happened or not? So therefore, the Mishnah has a to say that maybe we shouldn't trust her by the Anusa. But in the case of, if she makes the claim that they're divorced, we can believe her because she wouldn't be so so brazen, so audacious to make the claim that they're divorced when they both know that that's untrue. So Rav Hamnuna says that we can believe her. Rava says to Rav Hamnuna, Adraba, punkt verkehrt. Afilu the Mishnah Rishona de Katani mehemno. Even in the ratio of the Mishnah, where we say that she's believed when it comes to ones, Hasa mishum de lo avida levazuye nafsha. That's because it's a very sensitive thing. It's right for her to come and make the claim that she's been raped, that she's anusa. I mean, she's not gonna. That's not something to take lightly. Like, she's not gonna come and make that claim unless it really happened. She wouldn't kind of open up that sort of topic or get involved in that at all unless it was true and it's uncomfortable for her, and therefore we can trust her. But in this case, where she's making a claim that she's divorced, maybe she met some other person, she wants to be married to that other person, and now she's just trying to get out of this one, so therefore she's saying, you've divorced me. So me'iza, she will maybe she will have she will be willing to make the claim even though it is untrue. Okay, so Rav Hamnuna says that we can believe her because she wouldn't be so brazen to make that claim unless it really happened. Rava says that we cannot believe her because maybe she's just trying to get out of it. Fine. Master of Misharsha Asakasha. Shemaim Beini Levenecho, the Mishnah Rishon. So in the Reish of our Mishnah, we had said Hashamayim Beini Levenecho, that she makes the claim that his sperm doesn't come out properly. So Tiyufta Dirov, that would be a kasha on Rav. Hacha Deleisla Kisufa, because we're assuming right now that this is not embarrassing for her. Vikatoni Dimehemna, meaning Rava's whole thing was that we could Rava's whole thing was that the only reason that we would believe her by ones is because it's uncomfortable for her. It's embarrassing, it's uncomfortable to come and say that, right, that she was raped, and therefore if she's going to be saying it, then we can believe her. But we want to assume, at least for now, that Hashamayim Beini Levenecha is not uncomfortable, right? The Leisla Kisufa, that it's not embarrassing, Vikatani Mehemna, and nonetheless, she's believed. Because Rava awesome came to Lo Sagila to Lo Amra, the Inyora Kachetz. So Rava says, no, actually it is embarrassing, right? Because she has to come and say, look, and start talking about it, how his sperm comes out. So the Lo Isa Kedika Amra, if it's not true, Lo Amrle. So she would not say it, right? So it actually is an uncomfortable topic, and that is why we can believe her. Okay. Hashamayim Beini Levenecha, the Mishnah Achrona. Just now, in the Seif of the Mishnah, when we said Hashamayim Beini Levenecha, that this claim about his sperm, that should be a kasha on Rav Hamnuna, who said that it's about, right, that Rav Hamnuna said that in the Mishnah Achrona, when it comes to ones, we can't believe her because how does he know, right? Meaning the husband doesn't necessarily know if it happened or not, and therefore she can get away with it. Yet when it comes to over here, the yada he uvaila yada ba, that when it comes to the sperm, he knows about it as well, and therefore vikatani delo mehemna, and still we're saying that she is not believed. So Rav Hamnuna holds hacha nami here as well. He gufa amra nihida bebia yada bir kechetz miyada. Well, look, you may know that they had bia, but you didn't necessarily know exactly how the sperm comes out, and therefore, if she knows that he doesn't know exactly how the sperm comes out, so then maybe she would lie as well. Okie dokie, nice. Okay, how y'all enjoying the last half of Masechta Nedarim? All right, so we want to know about Ger Ashtani. We saw a machlokas between Rava and Rav Hamnuna. All right, very, very, very nice. All right, let's go weiter. Now, Hay Itza, there was a woman. Okay. The Choyoma de Tashmish, that basically every night, whenever she would have bia with her husbands, and the next morning, Mikadma Masha Yode Legavra, the next morning she would wash her husband's hands if they had bia the night before. Yom Echad, Asile Mai Lemamosha. So one day, she brings water to wash his hands. Omarla, and he says to her, Hadam Ilsa Lo, Hava Sa'idna. Why are you bringing water to wash my hands? We didn't have bia last night. Omarle, she says to him, Im Kain, Chad Min Nochrim, Ahaluye, Tavuacha Ha'idna. So she says, oh, really? That's weird, because I definitely had bia last night. I wonder. I guess if it wasn't you, right? Maybe if it wasn't you, then maybe it was one of the aloe merchants who was around yesterday. Maybe it was them. Rav Nachman says we can't trust her. We're concerned that maybe she became interested in another man, and therefore she's making this sort of clueless ploy to make it seem like they can't remain together anymore, but in truth, she's really just looking to be with another fellow. There was a woman who was not feeling so good she was like kind of annoyed with her husband. Amar lo, and he said to her, Idna Maishna, and he says to her, I don't understand, what's wrong? Amar le, and she says to him, Me'olam lo tzartun b'derech eretz ki idna. You never pained me, you never hurt me, made me feel so uncomfortable when we were having bia like you did last night. Amar lo, he says to her, what? Last night? Lo hava adam milsa idna. We didn't have bia last night. Amar le, she says, oh really? Okay, interesting. Well then, I guess maybe one of the oil merchants who were here, well, if it wasn't you, then okay, maybe it was one of them. So Rav Nachman says the same thing, that she's just looking to, right? She's an Eishes Kohen, she's married to Kohen, and she's just looking for a way to get out of the marriage. There's a certain fellow who was secluded in a house, that he was secluded in a house with an Eishes Ish, with a married woman. All Osamari de Besa, and then the husband came home, Partenoif Lehutza V'Orak, and then this fellow who was over secluded with this married woman, he sees that the husband came home, he's like, oops, so he just kind of went, and there was like some kind of a divider between the rooms, so he just kind of walked out of the room, but within visibility of the husband, right? So he wasn't exactly trying to conceal himself that much, he's just like, oops, I better go. Rava says, okay, we can assume that they weren't having bia, because im isa de avad isur akuse hava mirakis. Because if they were having bia, so then he would have done a better job. Right, he would have done a better job hiding. Over here, he didn't. He's just like, oh, I better go. But he didn't exactly go crazy and make sure that he wouldn't be seen. So you can assume that they weren't actually having bia. They probably shouldn't have been secluded anyways. But you can assume that she's permitted to remain with her husband if he's a kohen. How noiv de all legabe ai insa, there was a certain fellow who came to a married woman, also gavra solik noiv asif bechile bava. So the husband came home, and then this fellow went, and he went on the other side of like the curtain of the room. He kind of went outside the room. Machton tachle tamon. Now there was some cress on the floor in the middle of the room that they were in, and the husband's now in there. V'ta'aminun chivya, and a snake had tasted some of the cress, which means that they were now poisonous. And the husband was going to eat this cress that was poisonous. Below daita the insa, without his wife realizing, meaning if his wife realized that he was eating the cress, she would have told him, don't eat that, it's poisonous. But she didn't realize, and he was going to eat it. So Omar le, Hahu noyef, and this fellow who was over and now kind of hid outside of beyond the curtain, he said, Lo seicho minhon, don't eat the cress, the ta'aminun chivya, because a snake had tasted them and they're poisonous and you'll die. Omar Rava inse sharia, Rava says that you can you can assume that there was no sexual relations between this fellow and this woman because if there was an adulterous relationship, the avad isura nicha le delecho velemos, then the fellow would have, if they were having an adulterous relationship, then he probably would be very happy for the husband to eat this poison and die. So therefore, right, that they were being, having these inappropriate relationships and they have blood in their hands. And therefore, if in fact they were having an adulterous relationship, then he would have been happy for the husband to eat this poison and die, and that would have been better for them. So therefore, Rava says that from the fact that he warned the husband, don't eat the cress, it means that memele, they didn't have an adulterous relationship since he saved the life of the husband. Pshita, isn't that obvious? Not necessarily. Ma'odetem, I would have thought, Isura Avad, that actually they did have an adulterous relationship. V'haido Omar le, Denicha le Dilolemos, and the reason why this adulterer, you could argue that they did have an adulterous relationship, and the reason why the adulterer says to the husband, don't eat the poison, is davka delolimus. He doesn't delolimus bal, so that the husband would be alive. Davi intse ilave, so that for this adulterer, this wife would be for him. Meaning, if as long as the husband's alive, so then it's like a forbidden relationship, and there's a certain rush to that, right? It would be maim gnuvim yimtaku, that stolen waters are sweet, velechem sesarim yinom, and the hidden breads are pleasant. So you may have thought that I might psychologically say punkt fakert, say that actually they are having an adulterous relationship, and the reason why the adulterer saved the life of the husband was Davka said he would remain alive, and Davka said this would be a forbidden relationship, which is kind of like, I guess, part of the interest, rather than just for the husband to be dead, and then they can just have the relationship normally. That would be less interesting for him. So I may have thought to say that actually they are having an adulterous relationship, kamash malan, that no, punkt fakir, that the fact that he's saving the life of the husband means that they were not having an adulterous relationship, and that the wife is permitted to her husband. Okay, friends, that was Daf Tzadi Aleph of Masechta Nedarim, and with that we finish Masechta Nedarim. Friends, what do you think of Masechta Nedarim? It was, what do you think of Masechta Nedarim? I don't know, it's kind of interesting. I mean, it was very technical, but like, there's something to be said about really short pages. So, alright, I'll see you tomorrow for Masechta Nazir, Hajan Oloch, Ve'elu Nedarim, Uslikala Masechta Nedarim. Peace out.